Okay, welcome to Chapter 4. Chapter 4 is Database Design Using Normalization. So yes, this is kind of a continuation of Chapter 3. Chapter 3 was more philosophical where, we did things in Excel spreadsheets or Microsoft Word. Here we actually get down and do the normalization. Okay, learning objectives on page 197. Designing updatable databases. Updatable means, it's free of those modification anomalies, makes it easy to update. Okay. The advantages and disadvantages of normalization, and you might think, man, you've been pushing normalization this entire time. Are you trying to tell me that this is not decided? We'll talk about that. And then recognize some common patterns that show up in data. For example, we've already seen this thing where we have like an order and an order detail. That's a very common kind of pattern. And so things like that. Okay, so the first part they talk about on page 198 is this. Before you attack a problem, you probably need to learn a little bit about the database, assessing the table structure and the content before you start anything. And they recommend, like counting the rows and examining the columns. Why would they do that? Well, remember the thing we talked about, the Venn diagram and the joins? If you know how many rows they are, then after you do the join, you can go, yeah, I got the right number of rows. But if you've never counted the rows, I don't mean count by hand. The machine tells you how many rows there are. But if you don't know how many rows there are, well, then you look at a join and go, I guess that's right, because you don't have a clue. So this is about getting a clue. All right. So examining the rows, examining the columns. Finding, and this is kind of the order of which you should do this. Multi-value dependency, that's fourth normal form. Do that one first, oddly enough. And then functional dependencies kind of come second. And that's, if you remember how this works, functional dependencies, that's 1 and 2. And then transitive dependencies is 3 and 4. Okay, good. Candidate keys. Why do I need candidate keys? Oh, that darn BCNF thing. Yeah, I need to have candidate keys. And then, do I have primary keys at all? That would be kind of weird, but yeah. Do I have foreign keys? And then, before you apply a foreign key, it probably makes sense to check out to see if, you assume that this employees in this department are going to connect together with no trouble at all. But before you push the button, maybe you want to run a query to see if that's actually the case. Because maybe the reason why there's no foreign key there now is because they couldn't make it work, which is a distinct possibility. So this is what they're talking about. Let's say, for example, that I have the buyer table, and I'm assuming that the SKU data, the buyer in SKU data is going to exist in the buyer table. I mean, that's a reasonable assumption, isn't it? That every buyer that shows up in SKU data is going to show up in the buyer table. But, it's possible that somebody mistyped something. So you run this query first to find out if there's anything wrong. It'll tell you, whoops, this guy doesn't exist in that table. Then you have to go fix it. Okay, so most of this is going to be spelling errors and things like that. So you might ask yourself, well, why don't I just try to turn on the referential integrity? It'll just come back and tell me that it's wrong. Yeah, the problem there is, it'll tell you the first error it gets, it's going to say, oops, you got a problem on line 42. And then you fix it and you go back and you go, oops, you got a problem on line 57. So you fix that and you go back, oops, you got a problem on line 88. This will give you all of the broken ones all at once, rather than finding them one at a time. So it makes a heck of a lot of sense to run the query to find the bugs, rather than just blindly attempting to create a foreign key and have it come back and say, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Okay, good. Let's keep going. So on page 199, talk about the updatable database. Updatable basically means free of modification anomalies plus minimum inconsistencies in the data. And you may have a little bit of duplicate columns. There are a few situations where you have to have duplicate columns. But for the most part, the employee's first name should appear just once in the entire database design. In hopefully something called employee. And the employee's last name should appear just once. It should never be anywhere else. Okay, that kind of stuff. So on page 200, they give this talking about the advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so the advantages of normalization. We've been through this a lot. So eliminating modification anomalies, which means I have a database that I can update without any issues. And it reduces duplicate data, which means it could mean that my database is smaller, right? And so smaller means faster and, you know, takes up less time, less room on the hard drive because I don't have first name duplicated umpteen gazillion locations. And data integrity problems and obviously file space. And then a single table query will run faster because it's smaller, right? It's got fewer columns and fewer rows. There's no duplicates in them. However, the disadvantages is when you're doing more than one table, which is quite frankly kind of common, then it's going to be more complicated. You're going to have to use those joins. The stuff we learned from Chapter 2. You're going to join two tables together, and that adds a layer of complexity that perhaps some users won't be able to handle. And then, because it has joins in it, it actually runs a bit slower because the machine has an awful lot to do when it joins tables together. It has to go, wait a minute, let me figure this out. We need to do this and combine together and then filter and blah, 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 blah. So there are some disadvantages to this. Okay. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to load a file that you got from supplemental materials. So I've already got SQL Server up and running here. And so I'm just going to go down here and grab this Chapter 4 SQL, and I'm just going to double click on it just like we did last time. And it's just going to pop this guy in, and I'm not even going to look at it because this is stuff we're going to learn in Chapter 7. So I'm just going to hit the execute and assume that everything works. And he goes, yep, certainly looks like it. All right, I'm going to close that guy down because I don't need him anymore. And remember here to make Chapter 4 didn't magically show up, but if I can do a right click and say refresh, then it does show up. Okay, so we've done this a couple of times. So hopefully you guys are kind of getting this. So I've got an equipment repair and a student activity and a student course. Okay, so the mechanics of this is I want to break this into multiple tables, right? So let's just use the equipment repair one to start with. So I'm just going to bring in here and say select top 1000. So this is an example from a couple times before, but we have an item number, a drill press, an acquisition cost, a repair date, and a repair cost. And we kind of went through the exercise and determined that this thing really needs to be broken up into two tables, if you recall. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through and do this. All right, so one of the cool tricks you can do is you can have multiple SQL statements in this window, and then just highlight the things you want to execute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write just a plain old select statement and pull out only those things that belong to the equipment. So that would be the item number, the equipment type, and the acquisition cost. Hey, by the way, you know, my spell check thing isn't working here. What was I'm going to start over. What was the keyboard command for refreshing the local cache? Ooh, Shift Control R. We get down here to IntelliSense. Shift Control R. Now let me try this again. So I'm going to type select, and I'm going to skip this part and say from, so it knows where it's coming from. It's coming from the equipment repair. Okay. So now I've taught the machine. So now when I go in here, I don't have to spell because I don't like spelling. So here I would just say item number. See how it picks it up on the list now? And equipment type. Woohoo! And acquisition cost. Woohoo! Okay. Now I'm gonna just run this guy, and so I don't want to run this part over again. So I just highlight that thing and hit execute. Oh, come on, I picked that off the list. Oh, it wasn't equipment repair. What was it? It was equipment type. Doggone it. Sometimes IntelliSense is not quite as intelligent as we want. All right, so one more time. I'm just going to grab this guy and hit execute. Boing. Okay, so I think that's about it. Now, this is all the stuff I needed from the first table, but I don't want any duplicates. It certainly looks like there's an awful lot of duplicates here, doesn't it? Okay, so what was the thing we learned in Chapter 2 about how to remove duplicates? Something like, I don't know, was it unique, or what was the term they used? Distinct. Distinct. And that brings it down to, now oops, this time I forgot to light up the thing. So let me hit that one more time. So now I have only the things that I wanted. Okay, this is exactly what we were doing in Chapter 3. Except this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to, right before the from clause, I'm going to type a new keyword in here. It says into, and then give it the name of a table. So I'm going to call this one equipment. All right. So I'm going to light this guy up, and I'm going to execute, and boom. So I should have a brand new table now. I'm going to go here and hit refresh. And sure enough, I have one called equipment. All right, so we're not done. Now we need to go get the repair stuff. All right, so let me go grab this one more time so I can just see it. So now I'm going to want repair number, repair date, repair cost for sure. Absolutely for sure. So that would be the repair number. The repair date. And the repair cost. Okay. Now we're not quite done. Because although this works like this will work, I'm going to get rid of the into part. Okay, I'm kind of sort of missing something. Do you know what I'm missing? I'm missing some way of relating this back to the piece of equipment. So I need to add a column in here, which is the item number. Okay? It doesn't matter where it's going to be, but I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to say item number. Like that. So now we just hit the execute. And there we go. We have the repair number, an item number, repair date. So once again, I need to... So is this distinct? Yeah, it certainly is. Okay. And there's the item number, and there's repair date. This guy's going to end up being a foreign key. All right. So then let's go here and let's do the into repair. All right. I think we're ready. I'm just going to light this guy up. I'm going to hit execute and boom. Let me go back here and hit a refresh. And so now I have equipment and equipment repair. Okay. So let's go build that foreign key thing. So I'm going to go do it using the database diagram. Okay. So I'm going to go in here and say, by the way, the first time you ever do this, it comes up and says, you don't have some of the pieces. Would you like to get them now? And it's like, yeah, sure, dude. And so all I want is the two new ones that we just created. So I don't really want, I want that one. If you hold the control key down, you can click on the things that you want. Okay. So all I basically need to do now is grab the item number guy and light up the item number and drag him over to the item number on this guy. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I can do that, I really need to give it the primary keys. So this guy is the primary key. Sorry. Set primary key. This guy is a primary key. Set primary. I don't know if I have to save it to be able to do that or not. We're about to find out. Oh, it liked it. And it says, hey, you want to connect the item number from the equipment to the item number repair? Why, yes, I do. And I hit OK. And ta-da! So we've actually, I'm going to hit save here to make this thing works. By the way, saving the diagram isn't all that important, but when you do this, it's also going to make save the changes to the table, which of course we do want. Okay, so we've taken an equipment repair table that was in bad shape. It had some first normal form violations, and we broke it up into two tables, not using Excel and not using Microsoft Word, but honest to God, doing it on the database. Okay, this is a good place to stop for the 15-minute mark. We'll see you guys again in just a few.